Maybe I can try a different. Oh, it doesn't support a better aspect ratio.
Oh, mais
non, ok, du coup, je vais faire.
Yeah, that's because you replicate if you.
Yeah, je sais que je vais faire.
Est-ce que c'est la solution?
Ce que je vais faire.
Even cut. Yeah, okay, this looks much better. No, but no, it's still cut on the left. It'll cut over.
No, okay, I think I'm gonna use the cut because otherwise it's like a pain. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Otherwise it's like a pain. I don't know. Yeah, they don't have like a common. Yeah, this is the. It seems it's the only common thing. Okay. Okay.
This is the main reason why I like Emilio stock.
Okay, so yeah, this is a bit of hello everybody. This is a bit under like the chicken and then to get timer. Okay, so we this is the API. It's a bit like this chicken having party before being part of a fajita or grill. People is bad. People they eat chicken. Yeah. So I was looking for chickens in Google, and a lot of people were eating chickens, including Mr. Bean. So yeah, was very. This I don't know why it was one of the most popular photos. So yeah, I put the API because the first thing is nobody knows what the API is. So people, since I've been coming here to the working group, people like to talk about the API, and nobody wants to know what the API is. This is a warning, but who is not here. But after my last talk. Okay, here I'm talking about.
We don't have time for that.
Yeah, no, because last time you told me, Emilio, we're all depressed. You have been so critical on the status of Coke, whatever on the things. So don't get depressed. I mean, I'm going to be, of course, I'm going to point out things that got to be improved. And because of lack of time, I'm going to leave out all the nice progress we have made. The situation is good and holidays are soon, so don't get depressed, okay? Don't get depressed. Even if the API, whatever it is bad, you can have nice champagne or whatever, or juice or whatever you like at Christmas with you and have a good time. Okay, so yeah, so I tried to give an interpretation of semantics to what the API is, and then I wonder how is the life of plugin writers. Okay, so and the life of plugin writers is, in my opinion, a bit sad because here you see a small tear drop. Yeah. So yes, my path of Photoshop, this would be for plugin writers, kind of a Niagara Fall of sadness. Because yeah, it's not good, and I knew because I placed myself in the shoes of plugin writers, so I thought, okay, I'm going to take 4 plugins and I'm going to port them from Coke 8.5 up to Trunk. And yes, this was I don't want to think about why this does and whether this is the right path I want to follow in life. Here there are links to the patches. So for instance, here you can see these are the links to the pull request. So if you are curious about something, for instance, one very interesting was the last one. Yeah, my thing gave me something that doesn't work. It works just as in this screen, it doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, okay. So yeah, amazing. My laptop does, okay, so I point to my laptop. so Pumpkin Patch, yes, an older generation screen, sometimes it's good. So my Pumpkin Patch, for instance, I think was interesting. This is one of the most prominent plugins new to Rise. Coke is an interesting plugin because it's been like kind of abandoned. Some people have personally took it. Was like a stack. It's used in many developments, Syntax, Unicode. Okay.
What's Pumpkin?
Pumpkin is a system that is not a CPP paper. It's a system that tries to, when a proof breaks, tries to detect how to fix the proof. Okay, and it's by Talia Ringer at University of Washington, I think. And yes, he's been writing about Coke, everything. Only thing when Talia started to write the plugin, we told her like, don't write the plugin for Coke 8.5. She did, anyways, though. So yes, and for instance, when when I was in the NTH replacement of n known T by context world declaration, local assumption, I like Bunny's NT. I wanted to can we switch it to video because yeah, I wanted to So I told it was a patch. So I don't know how we dare ourselves to inflict this pain into plugin writers. but really, whatever is responsible should be at least we, but whatever was the person taking the decision of merging this, because this was like this for instance, this change for Pumpkin is just replacing a lot of this tuple by this tuple. Well, of course, I don't do that. I do an alias or something. But this is like, okay, this is like if we want to torture players, we are doing well. Okay, if we want to torture, we are doing well. And after there is a few more reasons we are torturing them. Okay, this is just an example, right? Like, yeah, of course, thankfully, God, thanks Merlin, thanks the magician Merlin, I have an image macro plus Merlin plus a few things. So I press a button, I go for a coffee because image is pretty slow, and I can fix all the warnings in code automatically, everything. System for camel code. So yes, this is a terrible image macros. So yes, I don't have to suffer this pain because I just go to the next error, and usually most of the time works. So I can do patches that are 400 files in an afternoon. Takes a lot of time though. It's very slow. Anyways, when porting this, so when I did port these 4 plugins.
By the way, there was a motivation for the change. No.
Yes. I don't care. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. There is a lot of part of the systems I don't know. What's interesting to port because there is many parts of the systems I don't know. I know. So I went to port plugins and I was looking at code. What's interesting, I was looking at code of code that I don't know and a code of other people, random code that I don't know, and I had to fix it and make it work. So what's an interesting exercise, okay? And I'm telling you, because for instance, because Pumpkin Patch was just doing this all the time. Why? Okay, sorry. Why? Why do we, that's a plugin writer has to spend 2 days replacing this?
Because semantically it was completely even.
Whatever, you are wrong. Then you introduce a compatibility layer. You are wrong. I don't care. I don't care. This is unbeatable. Okay.
Yeah, but you have to pay the price of porting it anyway.
So tonight I'm gonna give you Pumpkin Patch 8.5, and you don't go to bed until you port it to 8.6.
If you really don't want to make your talks on too depressing, you should say for each of those problems what maybe we could have done to make your life better or something like that at that point. And so you said the compatibility layer, maybe that's the answer. But,
well, I don't know what it can be done many things. Of course, I know we're doing better anyways.
Equations, I have a half tuple and 2 tuple. But it's already there.
Anyways, but it was a joke, by the way, it was a joke. Let's not focus on the joke because here this is the important stuff. Okay, this at least I knew what to do. But for instance, main trouble points I found myself when porting the plugins with, for instance, monomorphic. Like for some reason, like many plugins in 8.5 were supposed to be monomorphic or something like that. This in my head, I couldn't understand almost anything. I'm sure the current patches are wrong, and also. Universes is another point. I have no clue what I was doing. If I was a plugin writer, I would have no clue what I was doing. Many different IPAs. Again, this is not getting an idea, but of course I'm spending a lot of time in Coq, so I'm getting an idea what are the right ones. But for instance, for reduction, you guys know, but a plugin writer doesn't know what to use. Some guys are calling the kernel, some guys are calling the pretyper, some guys are calling tagred. Okay, there are again many different functions for printing, for a lot of things. And another big problem is what does a plugin developer do? When it's to do something, goes to Coq and cuts and pastes the code in Coq. And this is, in most of the cases, this is not a good outcome. Okay, it's not a good reference what we already have in Coq for people to paste. And well, this is for people who were not in the labs or working group. This is just an example of this thing. Okay, so you're a plugin writer and you have this whatever. Anyway, so for instance, one interesting thing. So this is a few selected topics. More, for instance, term manipulation is still not very clear from a plugin writer point of view. People, and I also feel lost, is a bit when you're lost how to do term manipulation. And in fact, here, I think, of course, the best thing is what Linda, I think, is doing that. It's better done in meta languages, not in OCaml. But even in OCaml, and Coq still, it doesn't distribute by default a better than MetaCaml. And again, then, it's a bit bad to spread out the API because you will expect in the constant module, in the term module, you will expect to have built-in manipulation and classification. And then you have printing is in some different module. Then you have term ops, you have term nodes of other things. So it's a very difficult, if you see terms or objects as a thing, as a plugin writer, it's a bit difficult to really have a localized version like an abstract data type. Okay, my data type of terms, and these are all the operations I can do in there. So to figure out what are all the interesting operations over conster, you need to look like at 10 ML files. Okay, all the operations you need for manipulate terms. Okay, so yeah, this part is not very good. Universities, yes, okay, this is what it says, since it's impossible for a plugin writer to get right. There is a GitHub issue. If you're curious, we can have a quick look. But which is about documentation. And we also actually we have all these functions. So well, you need to we have all these functions, and it's not very. It's a bit hard how to map them. Okay.
So just a remark. You say plugin writers, but I think most developers don't understand.
Yeah. Okay. But we can assume like plugin writers are a subset of developers. Okay. So yeah.
But even when you develop inside the system, sometimes you need to understand those.
Well, but for instance, term manipulation, this is a bigger problem than it looks. How many people is writing their own term manipulation functions, in particular like Thalia? And Thalia, for instance, is written interesting patterns that could be even included in Coq. So I've been talking to her a bit, so hopefully, because it's like, but this is a good example because this proof patching is a lot of term manipulation, right? So it's very interesting, but yeah, one reason why she wrote all the term manipulation from scratch, I didn't have the opportunity to ask her. But my intuition is she wrote all term manipulation for Conster from scratch because she couldn't get a good term manipulation library in Coq. What's for her a bit hard to see where is the term manipulation in Coq. And even Coq, of course, is duplicated term manipulation in many times, right? And just for instance, well, this is a bit like what I say, Bernac and Taptics. So what is the most similar code to a plugin in Coq is exactly Bernac and Taptics. If we like that, we could make the whole tactic folder as a plugin. Right? There is no reason to show. So this is like the main reference of code in Coq. I know we'll talk too, of course, but what the APIs plugin writers use are the APIs used by Taptics and the APIs used by Bernac. And then, of course, it's very easy to see any developer goes to Taptics, see code we are supposed to remove, and copies that. So it's a bit of the chain, the pescadilla que se muerde la cola. I don't know how to say that. And Bernac is the same. So vernacular is another point, like for plugin writers, for instance, if you want to define a constant, an assumption, you want to manipulate type classes, all this stuff. And yeah, this code is not a good reference. It's, even if we don't intend that to be. So maybe we should put a big banner like, hey, plugin developers, don't look at these files. But yeah, they do, because this is the only resource they have to look at how to use the APIs. And yes, they could use a bit of TD app. No, we're TD not a big. Tan has been helping over other people. So we're TD not a bit like to definition. So you can point people like, look at what the definition is doing. So this is like the reference, right? So there's a bit of work on that.
How big is that? The tactics file. How much code is that?
Oh, I'll show you in a second. I will answer. I have statistics.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. If you can wait 2 minutes, yeah, because of course it's in fact it's almost an SSL slide. And then another bad point for plugin developers is the IPs that are not finished. And this is very problematic, yes, because in particular because sometimes at the API is not finished, like a Conster, they're missing functions. It's hard for a plugin developer to know what to do. Or at least myself porting the plugins, it's hard to know what to do. Of course, the proper thing to do is I go to Coq as a meta pull request. But really, we should be more careful with that. It's just a thing. And well, Telecom has another couple of things, but mainly it's the application. And we can talk later about that, but duplication is a bit annoying also for when you're writing a plugin. Okay, this duplication, yeah, you have a function for a Conster, and they're like different. It's okay. It's just again, I'm just telling my impressions, and of course I'm focusing on the problems. I saw also many good things. A Conster is like a good thing. You see, wow, even if you have to rethink a lot of some things.
What do you mean by? What's the problem with duplication? You're saying if you have a function that you wrap in equals.
Yeah, like for instance, you need two functions for it. So it's a bit from the point of view of the plugin developer. You know the functions for Conster, and then you have to look for another function, and it happens to be in a different module, because the module mapping is not exactly the same. Because for instance, a Conster is packing in the same module, which maybe is the right thing to do. It's packing into the same modules functions that were previously spread over other. So it's not a one-to-one thing.
Yeah, I think the equals way of putting all the time manipulation in the same file is better.
I think it's better indeed too. Yeah, it's not mean as a critic. It's more really this is a set of impressions because we don't know what API is. As I told you guys, I had to focus on.
There is a solution for the developer as well. So for instance, in the integer branch, there were some shared parts in the reduction machines that now some of them are on eConster and some of them are on Conster. And so they were shipped through a functor. But now it's not so easy to make the functor parametric in whether.
So it's a limitation of a camel, I think. I was in the eConster proof of concept. I was advocating for some kind of view where you could be able to parameterize something.
We will discuss more specific things. This is a bit of a summary of the general things I could, my impressions. This is a very personal impression of porting these 4 plugins. As I got some social impressions that I won't share today of interacting with the authors. Authors of the plugins, you should listen to Emilio. He's a good guy. Okay. Anyways. The last thing is know what everybody understands that the epic, which is this hideous file. Sorry for that. I spent my time. This is a file which is supporting a subset of the interfaces when we're making MLI. And has one advantage, by the way, that actually if the function gives you more freedom on refactoring, and this is not a trivial one, it's important. If the function is not in the API, then you can rename it, destroy it, or whatever, in a sense. Kind of, yeah, but kind of, well, it gives you some assurance, like you are free to do deeper refactoring of the code.
Why?
Because the function is not used by the plugins.
That's
You're not breaking. You're not
By
breaking.
the plugins that were considered at the time this file was made.
Yeah, okay, supposedly, but okay, but you have.
Usually, when the function is not in the API,
I didn't say total, Maxine. I didn't say total guarantee.
Yes, that's a good.
Maxine, I didn't say a total guarantee. Obviously, it's not complete, but at least it gives you some. So imagine it was complete. This is an important tool. So
I agree with the theoretical advantage, but in practice, it's true that most of the things that are actually exported by the API are deprecated. So
it's much closer. In practice, it's much closer to whether it is in the API or not. It means it's deprecated. Also.
yeah, but Hugo did some statistics. It's a pity was not here, but Hugo did some statistics, and actually, there were many things. So, for instance, it's interesting to see many parts we would like to clean up are not in API and are not used by plugins. Mostly so. I mean, it's a small advantage because if Travis passes and this stuff, okay.
what was the corpus? Because did we do an existing study on everything that was an OPAM, say, for instance?
Well, there is not so many things in Japan, really.
It's a fairly large corpus, but what I don't understand is that if the point is really to know what is used and
but I have to say something fast. With the 4 plugins I bought, which are like key plugins, all the plugins are important plugins. We are not missing it. You put, yeah, but more plugins is missing. Like, unfortunately, relational algebra is stuck in a.
Yes, but the bias is not there. The bias is that those plugins are not ported to the recommended APIs.
Yes.
So it means that the recommended.
No, but you're again talking. No, you're again taking it to recommended API. What is the recommended API? It doesn't exist, for instance. Okay.
Okay.
You're again talking. Again, leading to the same. Yeah. You're again going to the same stuff that has left us nowhere. This way of thinking. Yeah, that's totally disagree.
Some developers tell me that some APIs are recommended. So you tell me they are not. I would be fine with any option, but I would need to know at some point.
Where is the recommendation? Where is the recommendation? Do you have a letter of recommendation from API?
Because I don't see the letter of recommendation in the API. There is nothing. There is interfaces and things, and we know. Sometimes we know what to do. Sometimes for universes, really we don't have a clear picture yet. We need to look at plugins because the main user of the API is Tactics and Bernard. Because the main users of the API are Tactics and Bernard plus the plugin I list. You are leaving very few people. Put these 4 plugins I meant here, and you are leaving out very few people.
It probably means that people don't really use anything involved. That is, most of the things they write are trivial.
Yeah, the things that people use are not very surprising. So this is what is an API more or less.
Does it mean that anything that is not in the API and not used internally could be removed?
All of the things, but this is interesting. Most of the things that are there are, there is a few things not used. And in fact, you can see in a few pull requests I say this is not used by anywhere. But there are lots of things unused. But the heavy users, I say plugins are using 30% of the API, but Bernard and Tactics are using 98%. Okay. So yes, I mean, don't consider Bernard and Tactics as not the clients of the API. They're clients of the API, sorry.
What I would conclude from that is that Bernard uses more deprecated stuff than other.
Well, Bernard also includes a lot of things are not in plugin, very complex things like declaration of fixed points, program. These are very complex things. I mean, obligations, type classes. So of course, if you would like to do a plugin for type classes, you will have to use a lot of more API because I mean, in my view, the right way to see API really, like the API is up to the prototyper, roughly. Yeah, up to the prototyper. Anything about the prototyper is a client of code, more or less. Well, you have tactics, but yeah, tactics is something you would like to put in a plugin. I think, like, yeah. So it starts with tactics. Of course, it's an approximation. Of course, yeah. You can.
Isn't the limit just where we can stop dreaming about trying to specify things? Like everything
Well,
is yes,
but I think
it looks barely.
System or implicit?
I mean, today's system, like everything that should be out is something we don't have any idea what it's actually doing.
But yeah. But if you're a tactic writer, you're happy. Imagine most plugins are either tactic
Yeah, but
writers.
you shouldn't be. So something I deeply believe is that you shouldn't be resorting to ML code to write tactics. We have to work around that today because people are using LTAC. But if you think
okay,
about
yeah.
MTAG or anything, I mean,
Yeah, I know
I
how to handle that. Yeah, because
not quite.
It's less pressure on the API for outside users. It's the pressure just for us.
But I would like to listen to what you have to say on API because for now, it doesn't seem the right tool for knowing what's.
I have nothing to say. It's just a body cut and paste file. There is nothing interesting to say about this file. I mean, I can say like, okay, this at least when you are like refactoring, it's interesting to see.
But are you saying that the point of this file is to know what is being used?
Not to talk about it. The point of this file is not to talk about it because it's not interesting.
Okay, right. So what do we do with this?
Why do we?
This we see later because now I'm gonna show you the plan. I'm gonna show you what's the plan. In fact, my slides are working. So what we do, this is the survey of more or less this experience. I took 20 minutes, so I request for 1 hour because I think this is a complicated topic. Sorry, guys. So the plan is, so my proposal is let's view code as a set of components. And of course, Pierre-Marie point, I already mentioned briefly, of course, here we are talking about the ML API. Of course, it will be great, many things, the ML API is not the right thing to use. This I totally agree, I'll talk to whatever.
It depends what you want to do.
Yeah, but for now, so I excuse giving to Pierre-Marie, he's right in this remark. The rest of the talk is focused on ML. Of course, at the end of the day, we can do non-ML. Okay, for instance, it's for people like equations or people wanting to do like tactical languages or whatever, right? So review the components. So now that we have seen it, let's review the components a bit, component by component, and let's see what the people is working on. Then what to do with the API file, and then maybe what could be some advice to plugin writers, right? So well, this is what Ivo was asking about. So to review the components, so in tactics we have 80,000 lines of code. So in total, this is without plugins in Coq. So without plugins of Coq, we have 140,000. And yes, you have some data here. I'm sorry if it's a bit small.
I don't trust the date.
Why? Ah, yeah, okay. It's one off. Sorry. Yeah, I'm really thinking. You see, I'm thinking forward. On a forward thinking person. Yes. So for instance, it's very interesting the percentage between interface. Of course, here I include comments. First because I was lazy, and second because also like for a plugin writer, the number of lines including comment count, not only the length of implementation. So for instance, the kernel has 6,000 lines of MLI. That really feels a bit heavy to me. Anyways, and I'm not sure how much can be improved. The stuff is trivial. I'm not counting libraries or whatever, but okay. It's a 20%, then you have this int, which is really almost in the kernel. Then library, you have 1,000 less. And for instance, something like Protyper is a really reasonable 2,700 lines, and it's a good ratio, 11%. This is, by the way.
What do you mean? Are you actually claiming that less documentation is better?
No, the ratio. This is the ratio between interfaces and implementation.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
No, not documentation. I think like I think ideally you want to have not too big interfaces. Yeah, you want to have like interfaces. Otherwise, it's like very difficult because here, okay, the whole of code you need to learn 23,000 lines of interfaces. This is like you need years to master that.
You have to read the documentation at some point.
Yes, but I mean, but this is huge. My point is this is huge.
That's Coq. It's a
imagine ML. Imagine to learn
a
but imagine to learn ML. I don't know. I consider like Protyping at 20. I don't know. This is a subjective number, so do whatever you want. Engine is hideous too. Engine is honestly, Engine has like a lot of stuff that maybe could be a bit compacted. Okay, and this is about the total. So for instance, you see the larger components. The larger components are like the kernel, the 20%. Then you have Pernac 11. You have Pertyping, 17% of the total code base. So I mean, this is some data.
Did you say what diff was?
Diff is the difference between the total. Diff is the difference between the total on interfaces versus total code. Yeah.
What does that mean really?
So if diff is high, that means you have more documentation than code compared to the rest of Coq.
Well, not only documentation, but also interfaces.
interfaces.
But having large interfaces is bad again. I insist, it's bad having many interfaces.
More is exposed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Your short kernel isn't large because it's heavily documented and
Yeah, of
the
course.
other isn't, the others aren't.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is a version. Yeah. They could have done without documentation. Anyway, so this is a data. I can improve it. I have a small screen. Not too interesting. But other than that, this is not very interesting. In my opinion, we need to urgently reduce the size.
When you say the size, you mean the size of the interfaces?
Of the
or
interfaces.
also
Of the interfaces. Reduce the size of the interfaces. Because as George says, even if, of course, the only place that truly has documentation, well, there is a few exceptions, like non-STM, whatever. Only place that truly has documentation is the kernel. Okay, so the rest is a pure types of file size. So it's a bit large, honestly. It's a bit large. If you remove the kernel, this is 15,000, and 15,000 lines is too many functions to me. Honestly, at least we need to reduce the size what we expose to the developers of Pernac and Tactics. We need to reduce we should give them like something like 3,000 lines, maybe with documentation 5,000 lines. So 3 times. This is my impression, because otherwise you're super confused. This is what happens even to experienced people like Beta. He didn't know how to print because there are so many print functions in the interfaces, so he was calling some debug printing. So we need a way to hide that. API was a try to hide that, but we need to hide, we need to figure out a way. It's not easy. It's a very difficult problem. So, okay. So Coq as a component, I've been working a bit on that because I built all my tools using OCaml Find, and I don't use the standard tool chain. I use like a modular-based one. I'm using GBuilder, in fact, now. I used to use OCaml build, and GBuilder is still not ready, but it's super fast. I'm building Coq with GBuilder is super, super fast, much faster than Makefile. Let's see, because of the system last features, maybe when they add more features, GBuilder comes slow. Okay, it becomes slow. And most of the system is modular except for hooks. So yes, okay, I want to link only to the kernel, and then it turns out the kernel doesn't work because if you don't link in like Tactics or some hook in the kernel is not set, and then a self fault. So, okay, so modularity is good. There is still a couple of patches, but we did a lot of work. So then, except for hooks, most of the components work separately. But this is interesting, and using this work fine, and this means you can really, for instance, experiment, and it's very easy. It's one line Makefile, you can link to Coq, and you don't have like a mess. And I think this is important for developers, for debugging, for people who want to use PPX, people who want to use different libraries, because whatever or not, we need to open Coq to the external world, okay? But in Coq itself, this is not exploited. Okay, it's not taken advantage of. I don't know, maybe this is a false frame, but I was tired to Google it. But yeah, in Coq it's not exploited. So, for instance, in some of the tools I have is exploited, but in Coq is not exploited. Is Coq linking is a big Makefile, and even if it builds the TMA, kind of well, linking no, but building is a base. So it's not exploited. So we don't have like module interfaces. Okay, we'll talk a bit more about that later. Okay, so the kernel. No, guys, this is discussion for everybody. We have half an hour. So the kernel, it looks like in reasonable shape. Maybe side effects, universes, and cooking. The features need a bit of work.
What are you afraid of? The interfaces?
In general, yeah, the status of the interface.
Side effects are no statically dispatched by side effects, by typing. Universes are on the way to get there.
Yeah. Modules.
Modules. Oh, modules.
You forgot modules. How you?
But this is related to the API. This is for the API. This is impacting the API a lot.
Not so much.
Not so much. I put B+, I maybe I'm wrong. It's like this houses in Paris, A+, B+, B+, like energy is rating. I don't know, but reasonable documented.
You're talking about the code, the interfaces?
The interfaces, yeah. Yeah, well, the usability as a component. The idea here is to discuss.
It's not too bad.
Not too bad. You agree more or less, right? I think,
No, because the problems that are in the kernel are not of this nature. They're like, okay, the guard condition is not very clearly
Yeah, but this is not
This is
relevant
not- this is not an
to the
The
API.
main, the main kind of problems are not interface issues, the main issues.
Here again, the question is what is the state of the component as for users of the component, okay? Not of course the internals can be like,
One thing which is in this category for kernel is that you would like to have a mechanism to easily plug a custom conversion function as a client. But that's easy.
but I think more or less you and Fox agree that maybe in this component also people is working on this stuff. So more or less this is in good shape. It is almost an 8.
Somehow Manipulum hasn't made it to that slide.
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, because it's not in the kernel actually. Good point, George. Because it's not in the kernel as to keep the kernel size of the kernel down with Cypher and artificial. In fact, it's in engine.
Actually, I think that most of virtually nobody needs to use the kernel, as it's very unusual to have to use any.
But know that we have econs.
Yes, exactly. Now everything, the kernel is just a black box that says yes, and that's it.
Well, you're proposing to hide all the kernel. This is interesting. I'm not sure I agree. In fact, I removed that quote. I have a quote by Pierre-Marie which said, let me recover it. I'm sorry, Pierre-Marie, but you. But mine said.
Be careful that you can replay the video in slow motion to see.
Yeah, the sculpture.
Notes.
Yeah, maybe
So don't.
maybe remove it. Maybe remove it if Pierre-Marie tell me I want the kernel to be very hard to use. But what's a bit? I don't care if the kernel is hard to use. I have to disagree. I think if something is hard to use, is reflecting other problems. The kernel should be easy to use. I mean, at least should be clear. And I'm not sure you can isolate so much, because for instance, when a plugin is going to define a constant.
Nothing to do with the kernel. That's way up in the.
But at some point. But okay.
We have to be higher.
Actually, since the introduction of university, you have to manipulate terms up to set of constraints, even the simplest terms without evars, and you have to use equals to do that properly. And that's where we need good term manipulation.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point how to do it.
But what is the component where term manipulation, even on eConstant?
Yeah.
What is the name?
eConstant
engine.
What is the name of the component?
Engine.
That's an engine.
Yeah. Well, first we have library. Okay, but we agree with the kernel, right? Like, okay, we don't see any significant problem.
So in the MLI files, do you keep track of what is exposed for other components as opposed to what is exposed for plugin
Not
writers?
currently. We'll talk about that later. Yeah, currently no. The API was an attempt to do that. Okay, but this was only for plugins and was a. Oh well, if you didn't see API, maybe you don't know what API MLI is because we discussed sometimes. It's a big file exporting all the interfaces that are supposed to be used by the plugins. The thing by cut and paste. So yes, and the file I can show you.
It's not even clear if we want.
So this is the file. Yeah. Look, this is implementation.
The kernel MLI, you want it to be not exposed to the.
Maybe shouldn't be. Maybe shouldn't be. Maybe the Pierre-Marie is right. Maybe they shouldn't be. And Mathieu, yeah. So maybe, but look, this is the exporting. We were talking also. For instance, you see, this stuff is never even a sport. Preem, native is not a sport. So right now, it's going at this level. We are going to discuss later a way to maybe do a more fine-grained, if we have time. Anyways, library. Library thing is a very important component, and but it's a crucial component. And I think the status of the API, at least personally, I'm very dissatisfied because, for instance, yeah, this is the way plugins register things in the sections. Yeah.
What is the scale? This is
D. Exactly. Z is the last.
The scales from A to I don't know. D is almost failing. D is D, in my opinion, this you could contest, and maybe who is an expert on this, so D is means you're about to fail. You're about to repeat the class.
Oh no, but this is worse than that.
F is fail usually.
This is
F
fail.
is fail.
This is fail.
I'm not failing the budget because it works, and it's not so terrible. But yeah, but really, there are several problems with the API. Nobody seems to be working on that. In particular, options, name tab is not has problems. The API of name tab has problems, and the API of object has many problems. In particular,
What are your problems with name tab? I think it fits the bill pretty well.
No, when you do completion, for instance, imagine you want to do a plugin for completion. You have an IDE and you want to do completion of identifiers. It's impossible to do.
Yes, you can.
No, you cannot. You need to rewrite it down. Okay, we can discuss offline.
You don't need to rewrite it to start with.
You're talking about features, not just the interfaces.
No, well, the interface doesn't allow me to implement this plugin of completion.
Not the kind of problem. I think Emilio has
so we're supposed to resizing the interfaces, the existing interfaces.
Yeah, but for instance, there is no interface to do code completion. So library, okay?
Okay, but I thought we were talking about the ones that existed, not the ones that could exist.
No, it's about the status in general. If an interface is not existing, it's bad. I mean, let's say the interface of the time, the current interface is bad. It's bad. Okay, it's bad because I would like to write like in Serapi for completion, I just cannot do it. Okay, so well, it's my opinion. This is of course my personal opinion. So maybe you go. And also the budget, the way you register things, the plugin register things in the budget, you already all know the problem. Actually, every plugin is forced to give a different semantics to substitution, closing, and section, everything. So my opinion is there is a problem here. I don't know what you think, guys, in particular with the point of the budget and local global management.
Local global is clearly an F today.
An F.
Yes.
Yeah.
But,
So
but it's a red herring compared to the libobject thing. The libobject is
well, it's the same, but local global is managed by libobject.
Yes.
X is there on the right.
Exactly. I would be even more bolder. Like there is no mess. It's doing exactly what we're expecting from it. Like you have to provide those functions. Like what do I do when I substitute something? What do I do when I discharge?
Yeah, but it means you have no enforcement of semantic coherence in any way.
That's true. But it doesn't mean. But it. I mean, it's very unusual for people to actually write. I mean, we could provide some wrappers on top of that, but it's necessary to have the full power.
But maybe you're saying what's missing is a standard way that we can document for plugin writers to say, usually your object will need to behave like
well,
that.
I have to say, you don't need to go, I agree with Marcin, I don't need to verify the system to take a truly mess. So this area is bad.
So expose of mess.
The message,
I'm asking for
the message
the semantics of locality of instance.
I can show you what happens with notations in section, for instance.
Yeah, but the problem is that you cannot. I'm not seeing a way. I don't see any way to uniform message in a reasonable way.
Of course, there is a way.
No, but okay.
The
first idea would be not to introduce discrepancies.
Yes,
which is easier than fixing them. But the API, the libobject.
Yep.
I mean, the only way it works today is like it doesn't enforce anything. So by default, you're going to get discrepancies, and then you're going to have compatibility issues trying to uniformize things. Mm-hmm. And the fact that for some rare cases you actually need the full power is not a good justification for having only this way of working. Like every function is ad hoc and declared by the client.
Yeah.
This should be allowed in some cases for some rare constructions.
So
but the fact that it's the only way, the only thing you can do today, this is what is responsible for the disaster.
I agree with, but I don't see any way. I don't see any replacements. Like, how would you describe something?
On top of it, that simplifies it for most use cases, probably.
Yeah, is that this I want to insist many of the problems. This API problem is a super hard problem, which is resolved by many small increments over the years. So yeah.
But I think what Emilio has in mind probably is that it looks hard. We don't know how to do, and there doesn't seem any people in charge, for example.
You can take if you want from this set a kind of forgetful functor will give you a to-do list. Okay, it doesn't mean that we know how to solve that, because maybe we think like we have a solution, but until you don't implement a test, you don't know.
So an example of a concrete thing. Okay, now there is this attribute work. Yep. Okay, so we will have another syntax for locality. Okay, for all constructions. Yep. Maybe. That could be a good opportunity to give not the same semantics to the local global previous syntax and the new one. You could say, okay, now we're going to, at the same time when we introduce a second syntax, we're going to take this opportunity to design uniform semantics, because we won't have compatibility issues on the new syntax. And so we could do that. But we don't even have the API that would make it possible to make sure we don't have ad hoc behaviors.
And the problem is that we don't even know what is in the local global.
Well, first,
we don't even know what it means.
Let's wrap because this is a discussion for a full talk. I want to say this is based on this criteria, which is documentation for the object 0. Okay, and then if you're a plugin writer and you have to register something in the object, you have no clue what to do, and you have no clue to test if what you are doing makes sense, unless you are an expert in section semantics.
libobject is pretty well specified in documentation.
Let's have a look. You think so?
Yes.
If I'm a plugin writer,
explains. There are comments in libobject. Then I find it horrible.
The problem is that it's complicated.
Also the.
Yeah.
There are some of this is just not true. Some of what's written in this.
As a plugin, just the first paragraph, I don't know what it means. Yeah, sorry. I still don't know what it means.
How to add the object in current scope makes sense, I guess.
Which scope?
What it means adding an object to the scope, like performing a side effect?
Name scope.
Okay, maybe
So,
that one.
and why the object has to take care of the user with the and this is a terrible API for people. Okay. You should provide like a.
Because there are named objects and there are unnamed objects. So what I'm saying is that.
You should provide like a registration mode, for
You
instance.
could say if you have a name object that you want to get rid of at the end of sections and keep in modules, you could get one function that just does that. And that would be what most people would use. And then if you are something that needs a special discharging at the end of a section and rebuilding of information, then you have another thing.
Anyways, well, we can talk more about that. Actually, this is going to stay like this. You only have to go to notations and look the functions registering the objects, and then you get crazy. And there are hacks that you cannot believe. Yeah.
Argument renaming.
Engine. Aha! Okay. Engine, I was very lenient because this should be an F. But I'm a good person. I'm a good person, and I put a C minus. But there are first the serious problems with the const EBD.
Yes.
And the minus is not so clear. Also, very util. Feels like half of the stuff is like this amazing occur check function. You know, so for instance, there is a function for doing occur check in a reading substitute term. So you are checking if a variable that is not reading the term is present in the term. So there are crazy stuff.
I agree, but the fix is not by changing this function. The fix is by checking that you find
half of the stuff is crazy. Well, I don't know. Half of the stuff of evaluutil is crazy.
I mean, evaluutil is used in evasolve and retyping.
Nothing says it's internal.
No, of course not.
Okay, so it's not. No, it's not. It's not written. How do you know you're not supposed to
by.
Anyways,
the default is that it's internal.
No. But this is crazy. Nothing works like that. You are playing writer. You open the file. If it's not written explicitly,
But
don't
it was
use it.
never
Use it.
written something in reference. I mean, look at the history. We did not ever decide, let's make it available to you. I mean, that's how it is today.
Yeah, I'm just
You have to accept this.
So maybe
Design input.
maybe a quick PR would be something I did. Don't use this at the top of the file.
Probably a few.
anyways,
But there are parts of evaluutil that make sense for
Yeah, there are some
external users.
Yeah.
So what do you
It's
mean by
present timing these two, that's the first thing.
problems with eConsor and EVD? You mean the internals of unification?
for instance,
Related to
You would like to have a VD use only e-consters, and there's dependency problem.
Yeah.
But you could make
So-
EVD plus layer.
Yeah, that should be.
in fact, I think this is not the right technical approach anyways, but in fact, this is a C minus because many people is working on that. So there is real hope progress is going to be done. A more worrying thing is the proof engine, which honestly, after looking at that and trying to do this provable state, it seems like not finished in many parts. So
What you call proof engine is global proof engine, not tactic.
No, the tactic. I mean the tactic
What are you
engine, whatever it's
complaining about
called.
the
Proof view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The proof view, you never get to manipulate the proof view by hand when you use tactics.
Yeah.
Never ever.
Yeah, whatever.
That's
But even the
internal.
internals, but even the API is not finished because you have like this deprecation and then many functions you get like a 5 tuples for stuff. Of course you do, like getting the goals and this stuff. Sorry, it's just
No, you don't use that. That's only used by the IDs, and that is like a horrible workaround. Like if you want to use tactics, writing tactics per se is rather well limited, I would say.
Yeah, proof view is again not be something that user.
Proof view, of course, a tactic writer, of course, it's used pervasively. The whole tactics are used.
No, nobody's using proof view.
No, I mean, all the primitives are there.
But not you mean the module, not the type.
Yeah, the module, of course.
Oh yeah, obviously, yes. That's the.
No, the type is also not finished because the type, for instance, I asked the questions about the environment. Why is the environment like a illegitimate brother of the thing? Sorry.
I already told you. This is documented. I wrote a blog post at some point about the tactics.
Yeah. Sorry, I have to disagree. Sorry, this is still even the internals are not finished. The semantics are unclear because it is
the semantics are perfectly clear. They are given as.
Then why I have no? For instance, you have you are in a proof and you have 10 different environments.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
yes.
This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
Yes, it does. You've got several goals.
Okay.
So you've got one environment for every goal.
Yeah, but you also have a global one.
Yes. Yeah, but the global one should only because the premise that we don't have any time for environments that do not contain any name. Well, there's a section problem to start with.
Yes.
Once we get rid of that one, then probably we could do something better. But in the meantime.
Okay, look at this. This is a good example of a
that's an internal module. Nobody's using that. Nobody's using that.
Nobody's using that. This is the main type. This is the main type. Come on, nobody's using that.
Put the MLI file.
Yeah. Look, so we have the state is proof view. Yeah, of course this input. I could put it there because then first we have non-logical.
I claim this is not usable because it's only used internally.
I'm gonna start with non-logical. Okay, so if you want to go in detail again. So we have info, okay.
But
and then we have.
But nobody uses that.
But where is it written?
Come on, nobody uses that. This is the core API of the.
Yeah, no, this is not at all the core API. This is the implementation API of the tactic monad. Everything is defined in proof view, and you can grep for that. Nothing of that thing is used outside of the proof view implementation.
It's encapsulated. If you want banners at the beginning of file saying.
For instance, this is used. This is okay.
Seems like a good idea.
Yeah.
This is, for instance, this non-logical. This is the biggest mess on earth. The biggest mess on earth. Because some users are doing, this is an example of the mess. Some users are using the native callback value monad of a camel to perform effects, and some users are using this non-logical. What is going on here?
I like this idea of having banners, but how do you make sure that they're going to be
red
meaningful?
I know the meaning.
If you declare some file to be not used or not usable, can you make sure that it is really not? Or is there?
No, the only solution is API. I mean, something similar to API.
Okay, I'll come back to this question.
Well, I don't know. I feel working out on this, and I'm very suspicious about the global.
Non-logic state. I never even thought of not doing that.
I don't know.
The tactic profiler.
Yeah.
At least that would be handy.
Well.
Anyways, thank you. I say nothing is will remain. It's a T-minus. It's almost good.
Right.
Okay, so yeah.
But I'm still claiming that you're taking an example that is non-valid because the logic monad is not exported by anything else. It's only used by the proof view internally.
I use every primary because then run tactic, for instance, this is where I come from. It's very technical.
Run tactic uses apply proof view that apply.
Yeah, needs to use apply, but then apply has a very strange semantics. So this APA, for instance, is not good, but we can talk apply. Okay. So for instance, proof view apply has questionable semantics when you want not to have global state. Okay. Yeah. Or at least I don't understand. So anyways, it's a minus. Okay. So it's optimistic, but I think lots of work remain.
I don't care about the mark actually. I'm just wondering what's your problem with this.
So for instance, apply. This is a good example. Let's look at the type.
Yeah, let's look at supply.
I use it in equation.
For instance, where do you search for TCL then? Where is it?
Technicals.new.
But there are two of them.
Yes.
One in preview and in tactical.
So
they don't have the same
it's not a good example. The good example is TCL or that has the same semantics depending whether it's in preview or
TCL then doesn't have the same type.
But it's another site.
So for instance,
But why? I mean,
Yeah.
which one am I?
So look at this.
There is one which is the split up of the other.
So look at this. ProPu has an environment internally. Here I'm supposed to pass another environment.
Yes.
And here I'm supposed to get another environment. And then when I change to a place, I'm supposed to have another environment.
Yes.
So when I change to a place, what is the environment I'm supposed to pass to the second apply?
To specify the hypothesis of the corresponding goal.
Sorry, say again?
The preview contains a list of goals, which are given as evars, and evars are only given as their hypothesis. What are you seeing another environment there?
Yeah, because there is an environment.
Well, it's an argument.
No, there is another one.
Where?
I just show you. You
No,
have to look at the implementation because the problem is that whenever I try to change here, it is. Look. No, this is preview. Sorry, this is preview. Yes, this is preview.
Preview is different just a lot. It's just an environment actually.
Yes, there is no environment there.
You're looking at P here.
Okay, maybe you're right. Anyways, yeah, but what I do, yeah,
Preview is an opaque type anyway. You build it by getting.
Anyways, okay, so maybe I forgot right now, guys, because. So then, what happens with the environment that was in this state, the output environment, this environment with this monad state? What happens?
I agree. I find it a bit strange because we have this nice monad abstraction.
I don't say I don't say yeah. It's trading an environment.
Of the monad. That's the run of the monad.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that the problem comes from far away.
But when Nico says change to that map, you make fun of it.
No. At some point, you have to get out of the monad.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the one thing.
I think that the mess here comes from the fact that the environment you use to do two things. One is the global one with all the
Yeah,
theorems,
the local, yes.
and also there is the proof part that is a context, let's say.
Yep.
And for some reasons they are stuck in the thing. So you have one that is there just to be global, but it has the same data type of the one that is.
Yes. But it's a defect of the kernel. We should have different type for
Yeah.
environments together.
But no, here you have tactic, by the way. So here's what the other environment is inside the tactic.
No, it's spreading an environment.
Well, it's an environment. Anyways, how do I change to applies?
But you don't change to applies.
Of course, I change to applies.
No, you don't.
Of course, I do. When I interpret in the vernacular, I do. When I interpret in the vernacular, I do. Yeah. Of course, from my upper layer, I need to change to applies.
When I do intros dot apply something.
Yes,
how do I change to applies? Okay.
What do you mean to change to applies?
I have, as Ratan says, I have intros and rewrite full. How do I change it to applies?
There is an interactive loop.
Yes.
So the user can trigger two calls to apply at two steps of that loop. So you need to pass the data around somehow. Right?
I can tell you first down.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm still failing to see what apply is like.
So
You take a tactic.
there is an effect on the environment and that you need to retake global.env at each turn. That's it.
Yeah, I need to take global env sadly, and there is a big mess with that, and there are other problems. So this is not finished yet. I don't say it's a great problems, but there are still clearly some issues here. Okay, and
Yeah,
also
but
what happens?
the problems are not in the tactic API. The problems are in the global mutable state that we share.
No, sorry, apply the API is bad already. Okay, what is the type? The type is not good.
No, but it was bad in the previous version.
Of course, yeah. It's a C. It's like it's not great.
It was a C class, and maybe move to the next.
Okay, yeah. Well, let's move there. We're out of time.
But there are things missing. Now,
Okay.
shelving and non-shelving, for example, is incomplete.
It's a complete mess, but we should. The problem is that it's not an implementation issue, it's a design choice issue.
And there's stuff about future goals and so on.
There are many messes there also with the different names, like what tactics are doing in practice. As you can expect what plugin writers do, they can get the two environments, the local and the global one.
But there is not a local environment. There are local environments.
You understand that, but the practice for them is the same type environment for the.
I wrote a blog post that is rather complete on the subject.
I read it.
Does it keep convincing use cases from multiple topics?
Semantics.
Convincing use cases.
Auto.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm interested in seeing.
Here we have a disagreement. Anyways, a good proof of the maturity is still the code that hasn't been ported. Okay, so let's say when we port the proof, what we find, I've been trying to port proof global to the tactic, and I found many problems. So this is
proof global has nothing to do with tactics.
Of course, it's the main user of apply. Okay.
Yes, that's outside of the tactic. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
That's totally different. It's also really
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
And put an
Pretyping. So pretyping, I don't know what is the status of pretyping. I had many controversial opinions. So I choose to be. I choose to put in an interval from A to infinite. And two questions. So yeah, that's not the time of this because we're out of time. But 2 questions is, for instance, should we move the pretyper to the monad before the monad is more mature? I think better we will finish porting everything to the monad before open yet another port.
It is a monad anyway. It is living in a monad.
A monad,
I'm not saying we should use a
monad.
tactic monad.
Turing
But
machines are a monad.
No,
But the question that we do is whether we should put in the practice with the tactical.
yeah, but we could already write it in monadic style and switch for 3 then in the.
I would rather finish all the open stuff with the engine before trying to attach the components above with more. For instance,
Below.
pretyper is on top. You want to put pretyper on top? Yeah. Okay. Also, this piecewise exporting is not clear. What's the problem on pretyper? This piecewise exporting.
Just to be clear,
This
outside of pre-typing of the mail, like the important understand the term, we find, and you have all unification. What would users require from pre-typing?
Yeah, basically getting a type, right? So it's not very complicated this part.
There's a retyping.
You mean the user
typing?
Inductive ops.
Yeah, but retyping is not pretype.
So here you have
pre-typing. And so talking about the pre-typing directory.
Honestly, I think this looks good. Apart what this piecewise exporting, this will mean something for the users because they will have to register with a pretyper.
But the part that is not good is there is some LTAC specific code in the implementation. And a bit in the interfaces.
Yeah, but this is not a lot. This is not a fundamental problem for plugin writers.
So I think the API to call the pretyping is surprising.
It is fundamental because it gets in the way all the time. You have to work around the bugs introduced for LTAC in order to make things work. Like oh gosh, I have variable that have been captured by some reason.
Well, I dare to say that apart from reduction, I dare to say like this is the plugins here don't find many problems.
Enrico has a strong point about this. He thinks that it's a major defect, if I remember correctly, that you cannot apply twice. Because the type is not the same.
Yeah, this I always bring up the issue, but
so this sounds more like the kind of.
But this is a problem of the kernel, really, right?
The pretyper goes.
Define the constant.
So actually, there are two type inference at least there. There is typing and retyping, I think.
Retyping is not type inference, though, right?
Retyping and typing.
It fills holes.
Pretyping fills holes?
No. Pretyping takes a
pretyping
job constant and it gives you a constant, so it fills holes. But also the other one can fill holes, but in not exactly the same way.
Well,
you cannot put coercions, but we can.
I know. So this here, this will be impacting because this piecewise exporting. This is what plugins are supposed to use. Like
I think we should not underestimate.
No, I don't.
If we want to have clean interfaces for accessory type, for instance, we're going to hit this kind of.
Okay, but let's move on because Anyways, well, but you get the idea of the analysis of the components. Proofs, for instance, lots of this I've been working with. Unfortunately, but there is will start to cook the tactic layer. Maybe I don't know. There is some weird stuff. Improves is basically the part that you go from Vernac to the tactic layer. Okay, and you store the proof. And the representation of proofs is very strange. There are many things there that is very strange. But we're working on that.
So will PAR abstract work for that?
No, abstract, for instance, this is a semantic, a problem of the semantics of the tactic layer. It's not clear what abstracts will be there.
No, PAR. PAR is really another entry point.
Oh. What?
PAR.
PAR. Oh well.
No.
Here's your answer. As I guess we will be out of time. STM is an F. It's the only we fail. Yes, I think it's a part that is supposed to call the document, and there is not even a call to get the document. So yes, it's the API is really inconvenient. Here I'm talking. So yes, we're working to improve, and also this part stuff and this stuff is also clear. Like for instance, to the speculative execution, that is something it does need. I mean, things. Yeah, and tactic Vernac are in really bad shape. Even if they're not an API, even if you need to use as an API, they're in bad shape.
Can I just say that tactics are pretty hard to described through any kind of API because they are so sensitive to the least detail of implementation. Some NF beta into double get beta or something, everything breaks. So, I mean, there's a really emergent complexity going on there, I think.
What are you
Emerging complexity.
No, I want to see, like, I don't know, like, let me see, maybe.
Like, I dare you, I dare anybody in this room to perfectly
this one is again.
specify, say, well, what is your favorite tactic?
Oh,
Like,
here.
intro should be doable.
No, but this is the wrong approach. You don't perfectly specify stuff. You try not to rely too much on the part that is not perfectly specified.
Yeah,
So
but
what
users
you
don't
have-
do that.
Yeah.
But because, for instance, they look at what we do, which is the standard library, and they do the same.
I know. Looks a bit tricky to me. Maybe I was too harsh on tactics.
Yes.
Maybe the interface is more okay.
Devar name generation.
Anyways, here, the reason for the protein, reason for the tactic and Bernac is because many plugin writers look at tactics for examples of implementation.
No,
So
they look
here-
at plugins, which is worse.
Yeah, or even plugins, so, but now they also look at tactics. So as an example on how to do things, this is what they almost fail. And yes, so this is the upper layer. It fails, of course, it's the result of many years of hacking, so it's normal. But this is in the terms of from a point of view of a plugin writer, you tell them very little of what's done there. You have to be careful because it's all code. So yeah, for a plugin, the point of view of plugin writer. Yeah, so well, so for instance, something we should ship is a bit of a cheat set. The documentation is not very good. So yeah, another time. Yeah, so but something we could see, for instance, some basic operations, how to get a type. This is related to what Enrico was saying. How to call the pretyper. We should have like little manual. How do I call the pretyper? And then maybe how do you handle monomorphic, whatever is the constant, or how do I get the type of a constant? Like a small cheat set. Getting the type of an inductive. This is also done differently by every plugin. And something right or not. Okay, yeah, so what is the type? In fact, what is a type? No, sorry, here I mean, really, like, you have types, the abstracted, non-abstracted. So maybe this will be a start of a cheat set of some basic operations on the pretyper.
Declaring a constant or an axiom.
This is very difficult, but this should be really provide an API for that.
The problem is that it's super complex. So even just the type of inductive is sensitive to so template polymorphism. Like there's not a thing as a type of inductive type in general. So it's the type of an applied construct, applied inductive type with everything given. So I mean, you really need to have to understand type theory to properly write those things. If you venture in the kernel, then
template polymorphism isn't just understanding types you use.
Should I norm subs and then refresh? Should I subs norm and then refresh? Should I norm subs?
Who is norm subs and refresh?
How many combinations?
When do I restrict?
At the end.
Restrict at the end. But I mean, okay. And most of those functions, they return the same type as
Matthew is not very full of type.
We can commute right now.
What?
No, NF constraints.
No.
Does NF constraints commute with which was substitution of the level?
Substitution.
To constants?
Yes.
The answer is that no. NF constraint, I think, isn't that one generating new universes or something?
NF constraint is universe minimization, so it can set universes to
yes
to value.
So then it doesn't commute with substitution of levels.
Yeah.
Yes, it's up to the equalities. So
if the substitution is not. No, in general, no.
It
the
doesn't
substitution is not stable by.
Yes, that's what
Yeah, no, in general, no.
I would say.
It doesn't commute with two const.
Yes, so that's yeah.
What? Is any of this written anywhere? Or
We're working on that. Okay, so I would say like the strategies we're opening GitHub issues. So okay, can we take 5 minutes to talk about the future of API.mli? Okay, and then we'll wrap up because we are.
Do that.
Okay, so yeah, I was going to discuss that. Sorry, yeah, we're out of time. So well, this was a bit of overview of what I understand for API. I don't know if you like the definition, but okay, this is well more of the global thinking, and of course this is a step like there is no magic solution. It's every day trying to improve a bit and hoping and trying to realize what the system is and.
So
yeah.
So just to be sure, API.ml is going to make it into 8.8.
No, this is different. But now let's discuss that. What we do with this file?
Yes.
Okay. So I think it should not. In my opinion, I think it should not make it into 8.8. At least not in the current form.
Okay.
I think Maxime and Mathieu should be in part of the discussion. Can we repeat the last few?
The question is,
should we release API.mli in 8.8?
No. No way.
So actually, well, so there is this.
So why do we use it then?
What is, before answering this, I would need to know what the point of this file is.
Yes, I would like
Just,
to have
I
this
never
answer.
got, we had a long discussion.
It provides you a
I
public
never got an answer.
interface. Provides you a public interface.
It provides a vague benefit of.
The public, if the point is to.
It provides a vague benefit of having a clue maybe what functions exist, and nobody wanted to remove it, or nobody has sent a PR to remove it.
Okay. So we had the famous. The famous. Yeah, it's gonna take a while because it is so long. So is how many comments? A few hundred. So we have this famous. Does the API? Okay. By the way. Okay. It was opened by Theo, and we had many discussions there. This is more correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So what to do? I think obviously the benefits of non-existence so far, because okay, the point.
You can remove in its current form because it was supposed to do the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It does API.mli.
So
No, it's not.
But okay, let's focus on
let's focus
on discussion. Yeah.
We're not going to make it.
There's a name.
No, this is incorrect. Okay.
Anyway, who cares?
So I will give a summary because it's almost a few hundred comments. I don't know how many. So I will give a summary for people not following. So clearly, API, one of the things. So for instance, at the beginning there were some technical problems. So API, because of technical limitations, is a big file, and one property it has is of course like anything not in the API cannot be exposed by the API. This is enforced now. Of course, you have to, before everything was exposed, so it was not very useful. Even of course, then you have two prefixes. And well, honestly, I think like we should get rid of it, right?
Yes.
Anybody wants to fight for his permanence? Gaetan?
So what? I mean, okay, right. I hate the API. Let's be. Okay. I am on your side, but I understand the motivations for the API.
So now
it is to provide some kind of things we know are exported to the outside world, so that we shouldn't touch that too lightly. Everything. We have more freedom to mess with the.
No, but that part is not true.
I agree. But it is what it should be.
What it should be, but it's not that.
It's not that. It's obviously not that.
And I don't think we have a plan to make it that. So.
Yeah. So for instance, another point is. So I don't know if you guys can see it. It's a bit small.
And even so, I think there are many other mechanisms that would allow us to do the same.
I'm not saying it's
without duplicating.
I'm not saying. I'm saying that as far as I know, that the only proposal ever that made the first step towards something slightly better.
And also, it's not stable. So if something becomes unused, it's in the API.
I agree with that as well.
That's another problem. So why isn't a comment as good as an MLI?
Because an MLI is enforced by the compiler. It is the positive part.
One way, but not the other.
Yeah, in one way. At least in one way.
To me, that sounds very weak compared to the cost of duplication and things like that.
So I got lost.
So I was asking, why is it better to do it using an MLI file rather than inline comments or things like that? And the answer is that ideally you would like to answer to enforce two guarantees, which is a function is in the API if and only if it's used in a plugin in a given part of the But that's already not the case.
Do you even want that?
I don't know, but I'm just saying this is not even the case, because if today something becomes unused, the compiler won't say.
Well, yeah, but then it's a manual task to know what should be exported. At least we know what people are allowed to rely on, and it should be curated by the developers to know exactly what we should do.
But we should also add stuff because
yes.
Yeah, but
Yeah, so really the question here, but mainly, okay, so I don't know. The question is, okay, we replace that. So one good solution is, even API was useful because WhatsApp is useful, at least it made us think of the problem. So, okay, so there are many choices. So I didn't do a slide on that, but there are many choices. I didn't do because mainly I thought, okay, there's no time. But there are many choices, like what do we replace this API with? We can just remove it and we go back to the other status. And we have been this discussion of, for instance, having some modules to declare a public and an internal interface. But then again, you have many choices on type equality. What types of equality you want to export and which ones you don't.
Just to be clear about the motivation, so I think we said what could be the motivation, even if it's not very clear. But the big drawback with today's file is the duplication. Okay?
But Maxime, today's file is already dead. We decided we remove it. We're focusing what we do after.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, not following why you mentioned that.
I mentioned that because I'm saying that the replacement, the
replacement is duplication free, obviously. It's duplication free, obviously. No, of course, if we replace it with another.
We just didn't mention it so far.
Maybe we could ask Bobby. I think the solution is something more lightweight than a typing system, where the OCaml compiler could help us in a way that it's giving something that looks like the deprecated warning.
Yeah.
But so that we flag things that are supposed to be public to this module.
No, this is a bad idea.
Why not? It's exactly the same thing.
This is a bad idea. Anyways, guys, the only proposals so far, the only proposals are the ones in the PR. So maybe it would be good to discuss proposals that exist. Right, no proposals that like I'm going to write a PPS, which is the worst idea I've ever heard.
Coq is driving the development of OCaml as well. I mean, maybe not the.
Are you sure?
We don't even have one person attending the OCaml development.
They have another meeting. I was having coffee with them.
It's the more significant point than having people on.
Maybe they come to the period. I wrote a mail.
We are still on 4.02.3.
Yeah.
Okay, right, but
the OCaml, by the way, OCaml has all the mechanisms already you have for namespace. It has a lot of mechanisms.
No, it has a crappy handling.
No, namespacing in OCaml.
Well, there is this namespace in repository, but
there are technical problems to implementing spacing structures we needed.
Well, but we are not going to the discussion. We are not going to approach the discussion because the point is actually, so we did API, MLI, we added this has been a pain. We remove it. Now what we do? There is still many functions like this, the bug printers and many stuff. What we do? And honestly, sorry, I don't see the need. I don't see again the need for a lot of technology in the compiler side, because like modules, for what? To put a warning for what?
Yeah, so I still believe that we could do that by using some kind of preprocessors that generates MLI files.
Please let us use more preprocessors. Didn't you have enough of a preprocessor? Who's going to maintain the preprocessor? Power you want to spend developer time in creating a new preprocessor for a thing that can be solved without a preprocessor?
I wrote a preprocessor. So to take an example that has nothing to do with the API, I wrote a preprocessor that replaced static extern in 500 lines.
Who's going to maintain that?
It's trivial.
The day you decide to go to Himalaya to become a Zen Buddhist after so many years of code,
it's a frigging YAC file. Not anybody's able to maintain YAC file, which is not the case for a CamLP5. CamLP5 parsing is like dark magic. I don't want to speak about.
And what about Max? What about it? Sorry, I think it's about.
We're diverging.
Yeah, exactly. So
there are really proposals. So and these proposals really like so what you want to put attack in every function that's taken private. This is and why it's not easier? Why is that better than to put every function in an internal model? In fact, it's even to save space because instead of adding attack to every function, I can just.
Sorry, can you backtrack a bit and explain your proposal?
Okay, so my proposal is precisely trying to separate using the model system. The proposal trying to have an interface which is public and an interface which is private. And there we don't really have the time. There are many choices there. There have been, if you saw, there have been like 6-7 PRs like implementing this approach. What has to test it work? In fact, there are bugs in OCaml 0.23 that some of the approaches doesn't work because a bug, Peter Marie is very familiar with this bug in the model system of OCaml. And there are many choices. So for instance, of course, you can have, like, for instance, you can have names and have every type public. Okay, for instance, you can remove this public, and then you have the public stuff open. And then internal refers to that. So there are many choices with types, and I think we're a bit late. So we'll have to keep thinking about how to do that. And the good news is there is many information already, many proposals. So that for instance, you can do this. and then, for instance, you can like export everything in a kernel API without duplication. The problem we were having, and in fact, even in API, so if you see these patches, for instance, so the duplication is removed. So for instance, if you look at this, for instance, here, look what happens. This is, for instance, for names. So names is, look what happens. So for instance, in this big level API, you just say module type contains public. This is, for instance, this you are not preserving the type equalities. So now if you do this, okay, so just a brief overview. So the idea is first, you need to classify. So basic idea. Then the techniques we don't have, for the technical part, we don't have time to discuss. So we'll have to be the next working group. But maybe we can remove API. So the idea is to put public, so make every module put in an interface the public things and in a private internal one. You can do in two ways, going back. So you can actually do, so you can actually do like this. So this mix, you have two separates, or you can remove the public, okay? And you can even, and another solution is you can export the public here. So for instance, you can do public internal, and then for instance, for compatibility, do include public or whatever, okay? So just there are many approaches, but the idea is to put every module, the internal stuff in an internal signature, in an external, and then once you have that, then you can build whatever interface you want manipulating module signatures. It's open, what the qualities you want to use. There is a bit of a problem, there is a bit of a technical problem that is impossible to solve because of the way name resolution works in OCaml and Capture. So this is a bit disappointing in the sense, yeah, like for instance, it's a technical problem. Like if you look, like for instance, when you start to replace, it's not really possible. So yes, currently, unless you write some special stuff like Pierre-Marie proposed, I think it's not worried. It's not really possible to have API separate from the public. Yeah. So whatever you put into the public, you're going to have to preserve. So whenever you export the public interface, it has to be a type equality in your exporting thing. Because if not, when you export the other interface, depending on interface A, there is no capture. So this exporting is not going to get updated to the reference of your new private thing. So this is the reason API has to be in one file. It's impossible to split. Yeah. So because what happens with API now? So imagine you have module public with T. There is a discussion, by the way. And this has a signature. And here you have type T, okay? Mm-hmm. Public A, and then we have end, and we have module public B, a signature, and here we have some type depends on public A T, right? So then this interface, and then imagine I go to this interface and I say, okay, and I say here module blah. And this module has a type of module public P, public A. But if I do here module blah, and I do type of module public B, okay, this public P is not going to, this is not going to get reliance to this. So in a sense, yeah.
You have a missing type equality here.
Yeah. No, it's just
type of takes the type as variables are quantified.
Yeah. If you want this to work, you need to make this a functor or an A. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's normal. It's a bit of a pain at the end. This is what I like modules because they are not programming as I want to, or scoping. Yeah, okay, I like modules, but sometimes I would like to do even more hacks, and this is Metaprint.
So it means a global.
No, it means whatever is public, even if you export. So if you use this stuff, for instance, kernel API, you're going to identify these types with the types of name.
Can't you write a type constraint? Can't you say just include module type of struct with?
Yeah, if you do that, you just export the qualities. This works. Yeah, this works. This is the way to do it. But then it means you cannot. So it means you cannot really compartmentalize this stuff.
So you mean that there is still a link to the original?
Yeah. Okay. So for instance, an interesting trick, for instance, imagine if all your models are public and internal or private. Just already doing internal, I think it will be good. The benefits of doing internal, even if you don't touch anything else, The benefits is first is you can do tomorrow, you can do
It
tonight.
seems that the first thing we need to do is either put an internal banner or make a module type internal.
Yeah, model type.
If,
Even doing model type internal, even if you replace by some annotation when a tool is ready, already this is very lightweight. Okay, this is very lightweight. And already you already can grab for people opening names internal and you say, hey, what is the people is doing? And already it's like very cheap. I mean, like you don't need special tools or anything. So I like modules because sometimes if you need like a special tool, then you're gonna take 10 years to do stuff. An interesting thing, for instance, what you do here, you can respond public with type equalities or without. This is very interesting. And there are several, so there is this long discussion, but there are several alternatives. So if you see, for instance, I tried many things, and one of them is working with the Camel 4.2, but this is Pierre is not here. Pierre Letousse is not here. Okay, so we can go to Camel, we can depend on Camel 4.5. It's in record, oh shit, sorry, Pierre.
This is half of it, though, but I think it would be good that at least we cannot fully discuss a technical solution, but it would be good to know if we are gonna, if we want this, some flavor of this in 8.8 and it has some impact on the OCaml.
Yeah, but this is after we have the solution we can see. Yeah, anyways, I'm preparing an issue which says I created a tag, I created a tag like needs new OCaml.
Need what?
Needs new OCaml. Yeah, look. This is an interesting one. Because I have many features. In fact, is to track. Look, this is to track, for instance, not for instance, with new OCaml. Right now, there is only one issue, which is backend type. Now we have to do crazy hacks. Not crazy, okay, but very inconvenient hacks because we cannot query to the system in the camel whether we're in bytecode or in native code. But in 0.4, they added this is backend type. So okay, so I suggest everybody having a wish list for OCaml. You check this that this new OCaml.
Why the native compiler does that?
Yes.
There is something in D-Link.
Yes, as far as I know, it's not official support. No, you call the OCaml compiler itself to check what you have.
No.
So
they can solve the issue.
Yeah, you've got is native, which is a boolean.
Peu importe, c'est utile son tag.
Yeah, right. The tag is useful, but maybe the issue shouldn't.
Look for is native, is underscore native. Yes, this one. This is an OCaml standard library function.
Well, it's in D-Link, so it's not. It's a separate library.
It's a separate one.
I think that the main difference with the other one is that it's available.
I'm not sure.
Maybe it doesn't completely fit your use case.
You know, obviously, I mean, probably the reason why we're introducing OCaml is that people didn't want to just depend on D-Link.
But for us,
we don't care.
We could ask, okay, so maybe we can do that, you're right. As far as I understood, okay, this was just an example. Well, as far as I understood, this was the proper way to use. Maybe you're right.
This is probably cleaner, but we could try.
Okay, we could try maybe with D-Link.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, because anyways, so I wonder, there are some parts in Coq that the link is not available, right? This is not expert there. Anyways, so anyways, there was just a comment for all the people like Per Marie wanting to move to a new OCaml version. Open this, and when we have enough issues, we can move. We can move, and then we can see what version. By the way, because it's not clear. Anyways. So well, just to wrap up, I think I took more than enough time.
Yes.
So, well, agreement is.
So what? So do we implement that? I mean, it's better than the current.
I think we need more discussion because there are many choices. So what I suggest is let's delay the implementation. I said, yeah, okay. I suggest we remove the API.
Yeah, do we remove now?
Come on, yeah.
Okay, but we remove before we have a replacement. Is that okay with everyone? Or not?
I think yes, because honestly,
there is information there. We're going to. Okay, right. We've got.
It will be in the repo.
There is no urgent, but
in the API that's not in the original file.
No.
Well, there is obviously. I mean, it's in the repo, but the information is that what do we want to export? Obviously, that's.
Can we retrofit this?
Okay, remove it.
Well,
I want the API there. So
but removing it has no effect. But I think releasing it with API is not a good idea.
What you don't want to do is to make plugin writers suffer with this half-baked LP API, and then the next version say, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, I think it's not really. I think it's not really. But this is just a flag. Disabling is a line and a flag, so it's not. Even if we don't
it's just a flag, but again, just if you really put yourself in the plugin writer.
No, but I mean for us,
are you saying bypass API works? No, it doesn't.
It does.
Bypass API doesn't work.
No, that doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Nobody did to work. I already told you the fix.
No, it doesn't. You have to, as soon as you want to depend on something that is
you need to compile to version. You need to compile to version. You need to compile to version.
Yeah, use Magic. Yay.
When you see unbound name MK sort, you have to know that you need to use bypass API.
Okay.
It's not so easy.
I don't know. So a way to proceed though. A way to proceed is go module by module, as I was doing in this pull request. If you see there are pull requests, so whatever we do, maybe of course we don't need to remove from the repository, but we can agree that we release 8.8 for now without enable this linking file. So yeah. So plugins still won't see the API. Okay.
But you can incrementally do every module to see what was already removed.
Yeah. So maybe what we should do is go through all the modules. And use GitHub to go to every module, and I think something that wouldn't harm, even if in the future, because as we are, is put things in internal. So if there's a piece, I suggest we just add for now internal, and then so without compromise, and of course plugins using internal, that we should wonder what the fuck is going on. So if they break, of course they will break because then suddenly this identifier disappears, or things in Vernac. So I think something we can do now, removing the API is not urgent in the sense like okay, well, we can remove it. Maybe we want to see what we do because, for instance, if we start to include modules in the API, then it suddenly works. Okay.
And the naming qualities?
We will preserve because we will preserve only with the public. Yeah. This we need to discuss a bit more about that, but I think we don't have. But don't worry, I think we have still time to have another discussion about.
So the solution that you will go through is not do public yet. Just go module by module.
Classifying internal. Well, everything that's in internal is public. Okay, implicitly.
When we pass on all the modules, we can remove API and not put information.
I think adding internal instead of, because public, of course, then you need to respond public for compatibility. So I think adding internal in this is doesn't harm a lot, because if maybe later on we decide that Permaris of adding some PPX attribute, it's just taking the internal. You already have marked the things to mark.
Yeah, I mean, if it's blocked.
Yeah, it will be very easy to, well, of course, it's a bit of Emacs macros. But I think what we can do now is try to go as we review from kernel up to as we can get, and start marking things internal. Okay, and then the rest of internal, and then at some point we see the sub-technical device, we can discuss more.
So you say bottom up.
I think we will start with the kernel, right? What will you start with?
This can be parallel.
Yeah. The point of making the public type is just precisely to avoid to have the signature of the public things. Because if you do only this, of course, your signature is including. As far as I know, you cannot hide a module, unfortunately. This will be cool to say, hey, I want the signature of names, but the module without internal. Yeah, so now we will get a signature for names, but the internal is too. So the only reason to introduce this module is to have a signature that doesn't really have the internal thing. So even if you want, you cannot see them. But this is a minor point, so I suggest we keep talking.
That's okay to me. I mean, plugin writers will realize the code does not compile, which certainly look for the function that they're looking at.
Yeah, but if they're using internal, it's good. Like, hey, Fox, you're using internal. So using internal is, hey, Fox, that's good, it's internal. So just what to put. So maybe we can see the plan. We disable this API, we disable the API. We don't need, for instance, right now to disable or delete, because maybe it's useful information. Wait to remove from the repository.
So does it mean we need to keep maintaining it when we do refactorings in Vernac and stuff like that? We always do things 3 times.
This is a good question. So honestly, there is no value, right? There is no value. There is no value. Yeah. Okay, so let's get rid of it. Yeah. So let's get rid of it, because really, right now, after all the refactorings, there is really no value. Well, so I suggest instead of removing that, just disable the linking flag. So I suggest we let it in the repository for a while, so we can easily go. Yeah, why not? It doesn't hurt.
No, I don't like that. I mean,
maybe
for reference, I was in the repo.
I think it's good to see, for instance, what was used, even if it's
just do check out and you get
Yeah, no, but it's come on, it doesn't hurt. This doesn't hurt
Do
to
you
have
want it
around.
to get compiled or not?
Huh? No, without being compiled.
So,
Not compiled.
so
Then setup it will work again in endpoint.
What is the point? What is the point?
When we are refactoring, it's useful sometimes to have a look at that.
What's the point of keeping it?
Yes, I don't understand.
For instance, imagine I want to kill a function. I'm saying I want to kill a function. When I want to kill a function because I want to kill this function, the first thing I do is to look there. It's not an absolute. It's not an absolute measure, but it's giving me
You
some
have it
info.
on your laptop.
Huh?
But you have it on your laptop. It's fine because you did keep checkout and you got the file.
Okay, well,
But it's
okay,
not version.
okay, let's kill it. Okay, let's kill it. Anyway, so the conclusion: we kill. It's okay to kill it or not. I don't know. Yeah. Honestly, there is no value. There is some value on that, but okay, I'll have that copy. I will print it. I'm gonna print it and put it in my room. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna print it, and I will put Pierre-Marie face and once Pierre-Marie machine is done. Okay, now where's the Super Life Apps? Okay, I also agree. So I will propose the PRs, but just adding internal for now, because well, we could let public, but then there is this back in OCaml. In fact, let's look for the back because it's like below.
Could we seriously? Could we wrap this up?
Yeah.
Anything else to say?
No, okay, so well, I think for now,
I have
so
something
thank you
to
guys.
say. I was talking with Simon Bouillet the other day, and he was doing really good things with the API. He was looking for functions in the API, and then he was looking for them in 8.6 to see if they existed. So I think having the API around is giving writers to do really strange things, and the sooner we kill it, the better.
I don't quite
You can do it now.
Okay, I can do here if you
We're
want.
not dead yet.
Okay, I'll do it, guys.
You're commit heights.
Okay.
Be careful though.
So we have
I
a
just merged your PRs, so you may want to.
Okay, so who's next?
We're done.
Yeah, so we now have a technical session.
I think it's a session.
And a break.
Yeah, but we can announce
our technical session first.
So yeah, there was this idea that we could make small technical groups. Nobody suggested topics. Pierre-Marie is in like 5 different groups.
Yes.
So let's try to get something organized. It would be nice to be productive.
Does this reflect?
This consider completion team.
But this, there was a slight problem because what we wanted to do on SS Reflect is really a kind of instance of this.
Let's all do this. I have to make a PR for what equations need to be considered as
We can
number.
do separately. Are you joining the SSR portal?
I think so. I think so.
Are you still?
I don't think.
So attack you tomorrow and. George, is it okay? I send you up without asking you.
I thought I'd you told me up.
I put a question mark.
Selected properties.
But
The final belief is very interesting here.
Suggesting to do a group on porting or seeing what it means to port the SS Reflect.
What do you have against the type
new
alias?
interfaces?
Is it SSR Reflect or SSR matching?
Well, probably first.
They increase also.
We can talk.
It's not obvious when you read code like native. The same thing.
It's
It's not obvious when you have name T and name.
Matching
Right,
is
so
not
the rest
It's not obvious there.
But for matching, I think.
If you look at the header, yeah, but when you're reading like a manual function of the typer, it's a bit confusing. I understand again, but if we could remove alias, I don't see the point of having aliases, but I know personally I agree. So if you think some alias are good,
Well, maybe we could listen to Pierre-Marie said more than once on Gitter that SS Reflect was giving him nightmares.
Yes.
So I suggest a technical therapy group.
Okay, but maybe
And
should I plug my laptop to show why I'm traumatized and particularly by the one function that traumatized me?
Or we can also all look at, I do my stuff in equations and we can all look at our answer. I don't know if
Is there
other
a-
project?
Other projects? What was on the list? Does anyone have a technical aspect they would like to work on? Emilio? What did
Where?
you-
I'm busy, sorry.
This is your technical.
It looks very bad. Maybe we should close.
Well, here have fun with a coca with a poulet.
This used to be the JSCock homepage.
Really?
What?
Yes.
I'm proposing the